Welcome to The Ripple Effect. I'm Jessica Osbrook. This is Kim Graves, and we're from Solidarity Community Federal Credit Union.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I feel like I haven't seen you all week.
I know. Where have you been?
Where have you been?
Do I look shorter? For some reason, I feel like with age, I'm getting shorter. Or maybe it's just sitting next to you.
I'm very tall.
Oh,
I
is
feel
that
like
it?
the mom,
Is
and
that
you
it?
look like the daughter right now.
All right. So maybe I do feel a little bit better about with age. I'm not shrinking.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We have a very special guest with us today. Bob Stevenson is here from the Literacy Coalition.
Bob.
Hello.
How you
Hello.
doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Great.
Literacy Coalition, always busy, always helping people here in Kokomo. Let's first talk a little bit about what you do.
Well, we really do several things here in the community. We started to, in 1988 just teaching people, adults, to read. You know, there's a considerable amount of adults that maybe can read, but read at very low levels and really struggle. So that was the beginning. Then in 1995, we started teaching people to speak English. We found there were people in the community that weren't native speakers that needed that help. Mm-hmm. And then later on, we started helping people do test preparation. So we help people prepare for the GED test, their driver's test, employment tests, any kind of test that somebody needs help with.
Awesome. That's super nice.
Wow. I didn't even know this was available.
Really?
Well, I mean, I knew the Literacy Coalition was out there, but I didn't know that you help people prepare for GEDs or testing or just, you know, I knew that you help them with their reading abilities, but to help with their speaking and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, and it's so needed. It's so needed. Our community's changing, and the communities around us are changing too. It's our job to evolve and to make sure we help grow everybody into strong community members.
And it's really interesting to see people move into the community, especially non-native speakers, and you get to explore the community through their eyes.
That's cool.
That's really fun. You know,
So you offer different types of language, or?
we just teach English.
Okay.
But we have students from China, we have students from Afghanistan, we have students from Central and South America.
Wow.
You know, at one time, we had, I think, students from 17 countries and 5 different continents.
My goodness.
Wow.
So it kind of changes over the years, but
So how do you find someone to help with that transition, to help them go from whatever language that they're to English?
well, most people can speak some English. So, matter of fact, some of them speak better English than we do,
believe that.
but they can't understand what we're saying because,
Right.
you know, we use idioms, we use a lot of acronyms,
Mm-hmm.
we use a lot of slang. Expressions. So basically, we just find somebody that's comfortable sitting down, has the patience to just work through things with them. So, you know, it's always interesting. I can remember one day, one of the gentlemen that was in one of our classes called me and he says, "Bob, the guy I work with said he's pulling my leg."
What does that mean?
Yeah, what's he talking
I
about?
love that. What a sweet thing to call about.
Yeah, and I said, "He's just joshing you."
He's goofing around. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, so we just,
Sure.
you know, but those are the kind of problems people have.
Right.
You know, they have trouble. When I first started, remember when you used to take film to the drugstore to get it?
yeah.
Yes.
You know, you had to put it in that envelope, and you had 19 different questions you had to answer. You know, what size, what finish, you know, things like that. Another great story is one of the girls I was working with. She said, "I don't know how to talk to my hairdresser." She said, "I want to look like Julia Roberts. I keep coming out look like Jim Carrey." And when we talked about it, it was, you know, there's a special language, and if you want to get a trim or a cut, those are 2 different things, but not to somebody that just learning English. Those are synonymous, you know. So there's all kinds of special vocabularies that we just know.
Right.
Because we grew up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned it along the
Yeah,
way.
we've been immersed in that our whole life. But if you're coming into the United States, you know, that's a whole whole different.
But I think a lot of us use a lot of slang
We sure do.
instead of the proper way to say things. I do.
I do too.
I'm guilty of it. So
Well, we all are.
yeah.
We all are.
So Literacy Coalition does help with that translation. And you mentioned earlier that you have somebody special who's coming in to help with that.
Right. We've just got a gentleman who just moved back to Kokomo. His wife's from Colombia, but he's a Kokomo native. And so he's fluent in Spanish. And we are seeing a increase right now in Spanish-speaking students. So we're putting together a class. It actually begins next Thursday on the 24th.
Wow.
And we're going to just let him do what he can. Yeah.
Do you have sign-ups for the class, or is the class already full?
No, and we have open enrollment, so people can just walk in and sign up, and we'll start them off. Most of our, all of our services are volunteer driven.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to volunteer, what should they do?
They should just call our office, and our number's 765-450-8532.
Okay.
Come in and talk to us. And what I've learned over the years is anyone can tutor. We use some of our students to tutor students with lesser skills. So a lot of people say, well, I just graduated from high school, or, I've never taught. Well, we've all taught our kids to speak English.
That's true.
Right.
We've all taught people to do things. So we can match people up and find ways that they can help.
Right.
So anybody that wants to help, we can use.
We go up to Tyson and Logansport every month and, give them information about solidarity. And there are a lot of different backgrounds there. So you have Spanish speakers, folks who speak Burmese, you have the French Creole. And like we mentioned earlier, like our socioeconomic backgrounds, everything is changing. And it's changing everywhere. And that's the nature of life.
Right.
But to learn those things and to really try to get yourself ingratiated with the community, that has to be hard if you don't know how to speak English.
Well, we do things like we'll do a class on holidays.
Oh.
So
Never
they
even
can
thought about
understand.
that. Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, those kind of things. We've done a few years ago when we had the tornadoes come through town. We brought somebody in to just talk about insurance claims.
Sure.
Because that's not something you just naturally know.
Yep.
Well, just even a class on safety, because not very many people that live in this area would be, I'm sorry, let me retract a little bit, but people that just moved to this area may not know much about tornadoes.
Oh, I never thought about that.
So,
Or different weather
we're
patterns.
all
Sure.
used to it. I mean, do they know that sometimes we get a lot of snow, or we get a lot of ice, or in the spring we have a lot of tornadoes? So if they just move here, they may not know anything about it. And then when they hear that first tornado warning, they're like,
Yeah.
they're not like Kim where she's out chasing it. Hey, look where it's at.
She's not kidding.
But, what do they need to do? Where do they need to go? Who do they need to contact for assistance if, they have something has happened?
Well, and you take it for granted that, we learn to read and that we know how to read. And it's such a normal
Right.
part of our day that you don't even think about it.
We can't remember when we didn't know how to read. But I was sitting working with one of our students last month, and he's 55 years old, and he absolutely cannot read. And he got a call from his doctor that he took while we were meeting, and they were changing his appointment. And I was thinking, he can't write that down.
Right.
How's he remember this stuff? And because I couldn't, I'd show up on the wrong day.
Right.
I'd mess that up big time.
Yep.
But there's just so many things. And when you talk about safety, one of the things we do with our normal adults that can't read or read at very low levels, we make sure that they understand words like caution, danger,
Sure.
enter, exit. We've got a whole list of what we call
Right.
safety words. Because our students, it's especially our native English speakers, it's not as linear as like you would think. They get jobs, they lose jobs. So we'll have them for 2 or 3 months. They get a job, they can't come in. 3 months later, they're back. So we go through segments with them. So I always try to think, okay, what can I teach them right away that will make a difference? And that's the first thing we concentrate on, to make sure they know how to do that.
So I guess one of the number one things that somebody might respond to your program is, why would somebody not be able to read and write? And is it a certain age group? I mean,
Good question.
why would they not be able to?
The age thing is really interesting, because when I talk to older people, they think it's kids. When I talk to kids, they think it's older. They think it's grandpa. But it's really been a problem all
Everywhere.
the way.
Yeah.
Everywhere across
So
the board.
we have people in their 70s. We have people
Okay.
in their late teens.
And you think about how mental health affects this all. I mean,
Right.
if mom and dad aren't feeling very well, or teaching or speaking to their kids, that can really create a challenge, especially when it comes to reading and writing.
Well, and illiteracy echoes from generation to generation. So if your parents aren't good readers, they don't stress it to the children. It's not, if education's not been important in their life, they won't push their kids in school to excel. And it just goes on. And I've got a great story that illustrates that. If you
Sure.
Let's hear it.
Let's
We
hear
love
it.
stories.
okay,
Am I going to cry?
You might.
All
You
right.
might.
All right.
I should
all
be
right.
prepared for that.
Ready to get the tissues.
Waterproof mascara.
In your shirt. All right,
Okay,
good.
here we
Here we go.
At Christmas time, we usually shut down the last 2 weeks of the year. But I go in and do the end of the year bookkeeping and do those kind of things. And actually, in this building right over here, I'm in, and the phone rings, and I answer, and it's a lady, and she says, I just have been thinking about the Literacy Coalition, and I just wanted to say thanks. And I'm saying, well, what for?
Yeah, for what?
What have we done? And she said, when I was in the 4th grade, she says, I was really struggling to read. And she said, I would go to my mother, and she said it was just me and my mother. And she would never help. And she said, in the 4th grade, one day she just breaks down crying and says, I can't read. So she came to the Literacy Coalition, and this was before I got involved. So I did not personally know this lady. But the daughter said that she learned to read and helped her read. And she said she had got to graduate from high school simply because of her mom's efforts. Wow. And she said, but by that time she had 2 more daughters. She had remarried. And she said she was just adamant that she read to them an hour every night.
Oh, that's so important.
And she said, now, I got to graduate from high school. She said, my 2 sisters went to college and did real well. And between those 3 girls, they had 7 children. And I think the oldest ones were just in the 1st or 2nd grade. But she said the grandmother, the lady that we first helped, insisted that they get read to every night. And she said, she will call us. And if we haven't read to them, she'll say, put them on the phone.
Wow.
And she would read to them.
Yeah.
And I talked to her a little bit, and I said, well, who is your mom? And she said she would rather not say. She said she's still not a really good reader, and she's still kind of embarrassed. And
Don't be. That is not something to be embarrassed about.
No.
Please don't be.
But it was just interesting. She came in. Somebody had volunteered to help her, improved her reading ability. That led to success for that daughter, and much more success for the other
children.
2 daughters.
Yeah.
And now the 3rd generation is benefiting from that. And it's all because somebody volunteered, spent some time to help
Right.
that lady.
I mean, we're so lucky to have it. I don't know about you, Kim, but when I was growing up, it was hooked on phonics, and that's the only thing we had if you were struggling in school.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody is struggling with reading, there are so many resources. I mean, number one, if the child goes to their parent, the parent can always reach out to the teacher and get involved and make sure that everybody knows how to read. But I almost see it as, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, But I almost think with the older generation, which is around my age, 25, 26. Okay, you guys are laughing. That's not even funny. But
I said nothing.
Okay. But I almost think the reason that they didn't take time to read because they had other things that were more important or more of a priority that they had to take care of, and they put that first, which was important at that time.
Sure.
And then they would worry about everything else later on, and if they got time or got to it. And I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know.
No,
But
I mean, if you're struggling financially,
right.
your job is to put food on the table and,
Right.
and a roof over your children's head.
And they didn't take time to
Yeah,
read.
and that's
So
got to
that
be
was-
your priorities.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And there's nothing to be ashamed of. I know we
no,
said that before.
not at all.
And there are resources to help. And that's why we have them here is we want you to be able to speak English. And I'm frankly, like, I want to be able to hear your native language too, because even though we're teaching you, you're teaching us too.
And they add so much. You know, there's so much, so many advantages to diversity. You know,
Yeah.
and people with different life experiences. So, I mean, to me, it's really made a big difference in my life and how I look at the world.
Different perspective, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like that 10,000-foot view, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. How hard must that have been for them to come here, or
Right.
without knowing a language? And then when you get here, sometimes people aren't so nice. But there are lots of wonderful people out there to help, especially
Right.
the folks at the Literacy Coalition.
Especially Bob.
Bob,
Now, I've got the best job in town.
is it a
because-
job or is it a volunteer job?
Well, it's a volunteer job at
He's
this
a
point.
volunteer job. Okay, I want people to know that.
But I mean, I get to see all these people where oftentimes the individual tutors just see their student, but I get to be a part of all those, and I get to take credit
Yeah.
for all that work those volunteers do. So I've always liked that part of it.
We're doing it together.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. The Kokomo is changing, obviously. We've made that very clear. And, we talk about folks who spoke those different languages earlier. And one thing we haven't addressed is we're going to have a lot of folks from South Korea here soon.
Correct. And we're preparing to help them as well. One of the things that happens, probably the Koreans that are coming to work will speak English.
Good.
But if they bring spouses,
They may not.
Oh,
they may not, or they may not speak it to a level that they're comfortable with. And what we found in the past is those people will work all day, speak English, and when they come home, they're speaking whatever their native language is. So those spouses who usually are here on a visa where they can't work,
I didn't know that was a thing.
they get very isolated.
Oh, sure.
So-
And you're somewhere totally different.
Yeah. So you're in this
Yeah.
strange place.
And when people don't look like you, people don't talk like you. And so we got to be accepting. Let's
We
open
gotta
our
be
arms
kind.
to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be loving, be kind.
Yeah.
Greet everyone.
You don't have to
Show them the options.
You don't have to
and
speak
show,
the same language
Yeah.
as everybody to have a connection with people.
show them what Kokomo's all about.
Smile.
It's a great place.
Hug.
Yeah.
Try your best.
Jessica and I do it all the time.
We do. We smile and we hug all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so Bob, you're looking for volunteers. How about donations?
We need donations.
Okay.
We're a donation-driven organization. We do not charge for our services, but we still have to pay. We
You
don't
have
pay
a building,
rent, but we
you gotta have all
have a
sorts of
building we
stuff to
have to maintain.
Right.
We've got to keep the heat and the lights on.
You need to have a bathroom that has all the accessories.
Yeah.
Yeah, normal.
Yeah, so we do take donations, and we'd love to have more.
How would we go about donating?
You can just send a check
All right.
to the Literacy Coalition at 901 South Cortland Avenue, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901. That would be a great way to start. And you can just call our office, and you can give online.
That's
So
nice.
we've got a website, literacycoalition.com.
And
it's
can
got a
you
donation.
volunteer through your website?
You can. Our website's kind of
Basic.
It's
That's a
kind of
nice way
crappy,
to say
right?
Yeah.
It's a bad.
But if I wanted to
That's
volunteer, I
us.
could call your phone number.
You could call my phone
Right?
number, and
Okay.
and you can leave a message on the website.
Okay.
and we will get back to you.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Just
that's-
to make a donation, volunteer. What if somebody, if somebody wants to donate books, do you accept books?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I want to make sure because someone may ask that question.
Yeah, and we get that a lot. But the books we use, a lot of people think, well, I've got these books that my kids learn to read out of, but adults can be kind of offended by that. So
Right.
we buy,
Sure.
we get books that are specially made for adults with low reading skills, and they not only teach reading and vocabulary, but they'll have chapters on insurance, on
Right.
negotiating rent, all kinds of life skills that people need as well.
I was just thinking, when you grow up and you're going to elementary school, middle school, high school, you should learn how to read. You should learn how to do math. You should learn how to do all those things. And maybe you didn't pick up on reading, but I didn't pick up on math that well. So nothing to be ashamed about. Come get help. They're happy to help at the Literacy Coalition.
Absolutely.
So have you guys ever considered, or maybe you've already done this, teach a sign language class?
No, we have not done that.
Okay.
We have somebody who does sign language at the credit union.
So I have taken one class, and it's been years ago. And the book that I have from that class, I have looked for. I can't find anywhere. I've looked everywhere for it. But if you don't use it,
You lose it.
you lose it. So I would love to take another class on sign language.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. And I know it's came up a couple different times at work, people that are interested in sign language courses. So I didn't know if that's something that, could be offered down the road or.
We are trying, we've got this great building that was just donated to us.
That's so nice.
And we're trying to fill that building up with activities. So if anyone out there has always wanted to do a class, come talk to me, and maybe we can arrange that you can get in the building in the evenings
Oh, wow.
and
That's a
do
good
a
idea.
class on whatever you're interested in.
Wow.
Right. You take somebody and you take all their great skills and then you let them teach those great skills to people who need them.
Absolutely. So we're very interested in doing that and keeping that building active all the time. We've got one group that comes in on Mondays. It's opportunities for positive growth. And I don't know whether you've ever been around them or not, but they'll bring in 10 or 12 adults with I'm not even sure how to describe them, but they each have a caseworker, and they come in and they'll play bingo one week. This week they were making pumpkins.
How fun.
That's fun.
But it's just a great way to have somebody in our building.
Interaction.
And,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anybody out there that has an interest in doing something like that, anybody that is tutoring children in the evenings that needs a space, come talk to me.
That's great.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be.
You get that sign language class, call me.
All right.
I'm in.
We'll learn it together.
Yeah.
Well, there's just so many skills out there
Right.
that we all have, some interest in or maybe a lot of interest in. And if somebody wants to teach it, I'd be interested in learning more.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, you mentioned your phone number earlier and your location. Let's go over that again. So folks need some more information about the services, or maybe they want to help out with volunteering, donating, or maybe they want to teach a class. How do we get a hold of you?
Okay, our phone number is 765-450-8532. I remembered it. And our address is 901 South Cortland Avenue. So we're just north of Moore's Healthcare.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's 01 because it's just north of Markland, too.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, make sure you check them out.
Pretty exciting.
It is great. Keep up
Yeah.
the great work. We
Well,
appreciate
thank you,
it.
and thanks
We
for the
appreciate
opportunity
you
to
all.
come in
Yeah.
and talk to you
We're
today.
happy to have you here. Thanks, Bob. Bob from the Literacy Coalition for joining us today. That's been The Ripple Effect. I'm Jessica. This is Kim. We're from Solidarity Community Federal Credit Union. Thank you so much for watching.